All right, we got some bad news to report tonight. Charles Barkley, he's leaving TNT. Not immediately. He's going to give it. He's going to sweat it out for 2 more years. But Charles Barkley went on a local radio, Washington sports radio station, 106.7 The Fan, criticizing cancel culture. You've heard of that, haven't you? You know, where you can say one thing and you can not exist via social media the next, and can perhaps lose your job and just not be welcome in certain areas. Yeah, Charles Barkley's not being canceled, but he's had enough of this. Probably politically correctness is probably what he's tired of. Criticizing, his bosses at TNT and probably up at CNN, and even some of his co-hosts. Interesting things that he had to say. Drink, I know you've had a little bit of time to digest it. What do you think of what he had to say, and what do you think this means for the NBA and the NBA on TNT moving forward?
Well, listen, I'm gonna start with the ending part of that. Good luck trying to find somebody, a personality to replace Charles Barkley. Good luck with that. Good luck finding a guy that has enough cachet to be able to go back and forth with one of the greatest big men to ever play the game. Good luck with finding a guy that can sit here and crack on Ernie, and Ernie's like, you know what, that's actually funny. Good luck finding a guy that's as big as Charles Barkley, but that's still going to try to race Kenny Smith to the board. I think it's a lot of little things that we overlook with what that show does, right? It's a reason why that show is blowing the dust off any other basketball show you want to bring up. And it's not even close, folks. I know it's not many basketball shows, but anyone you bring up to me ain't holding a candle to TNT and what they got going on. With that said, we knew a change was coming. This country, our country, has become very volatile in today's landscape. It used to be a time where you had your First Amendment, and that's all you had to know or repeat. My First Amendment right tells me I can do A, B, and C. What Charles Barkley is saying in so many words is this. I've spent a long time on this show, so has my co-host. We've had very good times. We joke around. We done won awards. We done been the #1 show on TV. And I mean, we done went against soap operas. We done went against other TV shows. We done went against #1 TV shows. And we have beat them on any given night. That's why we have Oscars. That's why we have Emmys. That's why we have all these accolades, because we're the best thing smoking. But why are we the best thing smoking? Because we're allowed to be ourselves. We're allowed to joke about certain things. We're allowed to play around about certain things. When we need to get serious, we get serious. You seen Kenny Smith walk off the set during the playoffs last year. We seen that because he didn't like what was going on in the country. And he said, if the players are not going to play, I got to stand with my brothers and I'm out of here. TNT can do whatever they need to do with me. We seen that. So these guys ain't just all jokes, right? They have a serious side too. And now you're going to tell, this got like a ESPN feel to it for me, because ESPN lately has been, and this ain't about ESPN, but I'm going to throw this tidbit in there. They have made the news lately for letting go of some high-end talent, whether we think they're old or whatnot. But these are guys that ESPN that made their name off their backs. There's a couple of guys, I had a guy on the tip of my tongue. Kenny Mayne, for example. Kenny Mayne. Like, that guy, ESPN was made off his back in the day. What's his name? Tom Rinaldi. Like, are you kidding me? Just as soon as that dude talk, you out here with the that dude can make a stop sign sound sad. But you get rid of him, like,
great. Yeah, one of their not to cut you off, but one of their best storytellers.
The best. You know what I'm saying? And you let him go. So coming to TNT, I thought the one thing TNT did well was they kept their talent in the house. Now, I know we got the whole little thing with Mark Alvin and Chris Webber lately, but, like, Mark Allen is not getting fired. He's retiring. The dude had a long, illustrious career. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's about time for him to rest and relax and go on vacation. He's been doing this for a really long time, you know? And so, and then, you know, I don't know what happened with Chris Webber. I guess we'll find out about that down the road. But it's like, you have a good thing. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. This is good. Let it be great. But like Charles Barkley said, we are in the cancel culture. And like you said, he's not getting canceled, but he feels like if he stays on this show too long, he will get canceled at some point. Because he understands the only reason I get to be who I am is because who I am. If I wasn't Charles Barkley, if I was Charles Simon, you know, I would have been got, you know, ran up on by TNT or whoever, and they would have been told me to pack my stuff and go home. But I get a little leash because I'm Charles Barkley and what I've done. And listen, for a guy that get paid to talk trash, to say, hey, I'm not allowed to have fun at work no more. He get paid to talk trash. And now he said, I'm not allowed to have fun no more. Which tells me they want him up here with the old, yeah, so today we're going to talk about, like, that's what they want. Like, this ain't like, we're not covering the presidential election here. This is basketball. They're allowed to let them make fun of it's basketball. Let Shaq do his Shaq and the Fool. Let Barkley do his segment. Let Kenny Smith do his thing. And if you want to give a segment to Ernie, let him go and do a segment too. I don't care if he want to do 4 shoulder rolls all around the segment the whole time while they talking. I don't give a rip. You know why? Because it's entertaining. It's what we pay our money for. Right. It is why they get paid to entertain us. Why do we have to make everything such a big effing deal? You know what I'm saying? Why? And that's what Charles Barkley is saying in so many words. And I feel that. I feel that because at the end of the day, if I'm doing a great job at work, and then, you know, I'm knocking it out the park, but then my boss come in there and say, hey, man, you think you make sure your shoes tied left over right? It kind of, you know, it kind of offends people. What?
Yeah.
What they got to do with my performance? Like, what are you talking about?
It sounds ludicrous, but like the way it's going, you can imagine a world where that will offend somebody eventually.
Like, and to run that parallel, what I mean by that is, like, Charles Barkley's scared that he's gonna come in here with a script in his head that makes sense, and then they're gonna be like, hey, nah, this sounds better.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be some straight BS, and you're like, what is this? Like, this is not what I do. So I commend Charles Barkley for speaking up. You know what I'm saying? For speaking out and saying, listen, I gotta go, man. 2 years, I'm out of here. When he referenced in that article that you sent to me, like, he said that even like people that he trusts, his co-hosts, even now they're coming up to him like, hey, Charles, I don't know, man. You might not want to say that. And that's what he knew. Like, what? Yeah. These dudes? Yeah. Y'all telling me, oh, yeah? I mean, and not to say he's mad with them or anything, because I don't think he's mad with them, but the writing is on the wall when that start happening, and he sees it. So with that said, man, like, I'm with Charles Barkley, and I think if a guy as outspoken as Charles Barkley is saying this might be the start of something new. Because this is a guy that says whatever he want to say, however he want to say it, when he want to say it, and he'll throw you through a window if you got a problem with it. So with that said, I think Charles Barkley is on to something, and, you know, I turn it over to you to see what you think about it.
I think first and foremost, this is and maybe not on the scale of like the whole country should like mourn this and be upset, but like no question among the entire sports world, this is a absolute tragedy. Like you said, and I'll just reiterate just so we're clear, Charles Barkley's not being canceled. He's not. I think he can see, you know, a scenario down the line in this hypersensitive outrage culture that we've kind of created for ourselves, and has just picked up steam within the past a year to 18 months maybe, I think Charles Barkley's concerned, number one, that he can see himself down the line saying the wrong thing and just getting, just taking headshots over it over and over. But he also, I think the bigger point here is that Charles Barkley doesn't want to live in a world where you get to dictate what he says. And I think that's, something that should concern everyone as individuals. We should all have the right to think for ourselves, view the information as it is, and draw our own conclusions, and say what we feel like we want to say. Now, I know there are some, there's some lines of like basic decency and all of this other things, but and Charles Barkley, he's no doubt said some things that have rubbed people the wrong way, perhaps. But I don't think there's a malicious bone in Charles Barkley's body. This is a guy who, on this program, on Inside the NBA, on TNT, plus the pregame, the halftime, and all the other things, he's an entertainer. And people watch this show and they watch Charles Barkley because they want to be entertained. I've said this for a while now, in reference to the other programming that's really, to me, it's ESPN and NBA. When you talk about nationally televised basketball, that's what it is. You can throw NBA TV in there as well, but that's
I was just about to say that. What about NBA
that's
TV?
still, but that's TNT on a like lower, scale,
Right.
But when you look at TNT and ESPN, there's no comparison. I don't find, when I think of ESPN, I'm thinking Maria Taylor and Woj and Jalen Rose and I don't find it entertaining, and I dread watching it. These days, I think it just seems like PC and everybody's like scripted, and the Jalen Rose "I'm too cool for school" routine is on the air. I just don't find it impressive at all, which is a shame because the worldwide leader in sports, looking like the worldwide leader in wokeness. That's what I think is going on here. But I think this is something that, I saw this and I was shocked that this is what I was seeing. But I think this is something that I really hope that gets people paying attention, because Charles Barkley, I think, is just one of those figures that he transcends the kind of cancel culture that is kind of taking hold, and just people are, experiencing it, left and right now. And I really hope people wake up and pay attention, because when a guy this big, that is a transcendent figure, is concerned about this, I think it's one of those situations where I think no one is safe. And we talked about just trying to brainstorm really quickly on like who's got next on there. And there's nobody that can do what he does, with his, he has a larger than life personality. And I think it's going to take some real thought. And I'm sure, TNT, they got their work cut out for them. And I think the show is going to suffer. I think you're going to lose the aspect of, Charles and Shaq going at each other, all the time. And I've looked at Charles and Kenny like that's just two, little brother and big brother, just side by side every show. They don't always see eye to eye, but that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of like coming together and just debating opinions. And that's the biggest thing right here. Like the thing that we should be doing is when you hear something that you disagree with, what the natural instinct is to like have a discussion and try to use the art of persuasion to get someone to, switch sides and agree with you. And if they don't, at least maybe they understand where you're coming from. We live in kind of a world right now where no one's interested in doing that. Another thing that I think is kind of telling in all this, and I think it's easy to overlook, he did this interview on a local radio station. I don't think Charles Barkley would go on TV on any of the airwaves and say these things. I don't know if anyone would want to hear from him. And then I think it's very interesting that when you you go on the World Wide Web and you're like, because I don't even remember how I stumbled across this, but then I'm just kind of like, who else is talking about this? And you don't see mainstream news organizations talking about this. I just find that very interesting. And I'm looking at now, as you look ahead and you kind of, well, you think of like, well, what's next? You know, who could be next of like, you know, fall victim to this culture that we've created? Is Shaqtin' a Fool going to be offensive? And how much longer can that last? You know, because that Shaq is in the business of poking fun at players who just they got their own bloopers out there.
Right.
And I was thinking about this as well. I'm looking at a guy. I'm looking at Jeff Van Gundy of ESPN. I wonder how long can Jeff Van Gundy survive? Because Jeff Van Gundy, he says what to me, and I think there's probably lines in the sand that he won't cross, but he's a pretty open guy and he says pretty much whatever. Some of it sounds a little nutty, but he's the most entertaining NBA in-game analyst. And I'm a little concerned for him right now as we move forward. And just as an aside, are we going to get to a point in sports where the only guy you can afford to be is Mike Breen? Mike Breen's like, I just find Mike Breen to be the nicest, most genuine, polite guy on the airwaves that, is the biggest. I throw Jim Nantz in there as well. I think those guys are like the best in the business. And they seem like genuinely good people. But if everybody's Mike Breen and Jim Nantz, it's going to get a little boring out there. I need some of these guys that spice it up. I think Mike Breen is better because he has Jeff Van Gundy alongside him and Mark Jackson. Right. I think you need that sort of balance. And I think, if everybody's going to be like ESPN with the pregame NBA, entertainment value is going to go way down. And I think a lot of people, they're going to have a ratings problem. They keep this mess up.